All right, guys, just take 1 second here real quick. When you're buying a business, ensuring the financial health of the company is critical. And that's where a quality of earnings partner comes in. Quality of earnings gives you confidence in the financials of the company that you're purchasing. It aims to protect your investment and ensure that you're stepping into a profitable business on day one. Patrick of O'Connell Advisory Group is your dynamic quality of earnings partner. He's here to help you buy the right business on your timeline. Patrick's entire practice is focused on business acquisitions. Your niche is his niche. And over the past decade, Patrick's helped more than 200 buyers like yourself successfully purchase and operate enduring, profitable businesses. In fact, Patrick's helped some listeners of this show. So if you're buying, looking for help with the quality of earnings, financial due diligence, network capital, and more, head to o'connelladvisorygroup.com or just click the link in the show notes.
All right. On today's episode, we interviewed Grant Hensel, where we talked about what it's like to go and do a search and go buy a digital marketing agency, right? And some of the things that you need to think about while buying a digital marketing agency. How do you DD the agency? How do you DD the employees, right? What do you think about whenever you look at the contracts and the existing customer list? Because you generally are typically buying a book of business. So Casey, what were some of your takeaways?
It really hit me that it does matter to buy a business or buy a business that you have some knowledge about, right? Because Grant had been a startup guy. He had built a company. He had actually had a successful marketing firm that he had sold off. And so they knew very specifically in their thesis what they wanted to do. They didn't know what type of agency it would be, but they really had a very bullet point of this is what we're looking for. And also having that his wife's buy-in, and having that wife's buy-in, and they were focusing together, man, that synergy, man, compounds huge if everybody is focused on the same goal. And so, man, just a great podcast in regards to covering about digital marketing, buying a bolt-on. It was just some deep stuff that I really enjoy, because digital marketing, you can take it anywhere you go.
Agreed. And, something near and dear to my heart. I know a lot about it. And it's one of the things most companies fail at is doing a good job on the marketing side. And so there's definitely a lot of interesting details to kind of learn from this one if you're looking to buy digital marketing. Welcome to the M&A Launchpad Podcast with your hosts, Casey and Feras with Equity Launchpad. On this podcast, you will gain insights on acquiring, investing in, and selling profitable businesses in the lower to middle market. Whether you're a business owner, investor, or aspiring entrepreneur, at Equity Launchpad, we will provide you with the knowledge, guidance, and capital to navigate the world of mergers and acquisitions.
Hey guys, go ahead and just pause the podcast for a second. When you're buying a business, you need to ensure the financial health of the company. The quality of earnings is mission critical. It doesn't matter what size business you're buying. Patrick O'Connell Advisory Group, they're dynamic. They do a great job. They're going to look over your shoulder. They're going to make sure that you're doing the right thing. And this guy's done over 200 buyers successfully, just like you. So reach out to him. And it's o'connelladvisorygroup.com. Click the link in our show notes. Can't live without it.
Hey, Grant, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
No problem.
So we got some big news, man. I guess last year you made it happen. You conquered one of the big feats of what everybody in the ETA world wants to do. So why don't you jump in? Tell us about yourself and tell us about it.
Yeah, no, we acquired a business last year, which was fantastic. And my background had basically been being an entrepreneur. I started businesses 10 times. 2 got acquired in small transactions, 7 totally failed. And one did well, which is a digital marketing agency called Nonprofit Megaphone. And then my wife was working for Boston Consulting Group and wanted to have more ownership over what she was doing. And so we did a weird hybrid where I searched and we found a business to buy, which we then acquired, and now she runs, which does search engine optimization for personal injury attorneys, which has been a ton of fun.
Oh, wow.
She actually did a bolt-on.
It's even niche. Yeah. It's right in that pocket.
Yeah.
And you know the space. You've been there before. Very nice.
So we'll get to that here in a second. So really quick, how long, whenever you started the search, right, you did a very traditional search. Did you raise a search fund? And, what was your thesis maybe at the beginning, right, whenever you started this? And then kind of, how long did it take you to get there? And where did you land?
Yeah. So we did a self-funded search. It took about 9 months. Frankly, just because I think we got lucky. It could have easily taken much longer, but we submitted 4 LOIs, 3 were accepted, 2 fell apart in diligence, and then 1 actually closed. So not too long in the grand scheme of things.
And how, I guess, what were the source of those deals, right? So you got to 4 LOIs, which is a lot to begin with. So how are you finding your deals? And what was the thesis that you were looking at initially? You didn't answer that part of it.
Yeah. So initial thesis was, we were pretty open at the beginning. We just said, we want something that has a fully remote team and is service oriented. And that narrows it down wildly. or not that much, doesn't narrow it down that much at all. As we went through, we eventually realized this is going to be a pretty big swing for us. And so we'd like to do something that is within a universe that we have some experience. And so we're eventually like, let's do specifically a marketing agency, because I had run one for 9 years at that point, and we felt like at least we'll know the obvious mistakes that could be made in buying another marketing agency. But
so quick question before we jump into that too. We'll keep deep diving here, but so you were an entrepreneur. So you've started the businesses from ground up. You said you did 10. And so what was it that made you go, hey, I'm going to get in the acquisition stuff? Like what was that trigger that said, I'm doing this?
I went to Booth. I did an MBA just for no reason, just because I'm a nerd, but met a lot of people who were doing the ETA thing, learned a lot about the traditional model, not actually as much about self-funded. We ended up doing self-funded and loved that approach. But it's basically just the logic of sometimes it is easier to buy than build from the ground up. And we see that in my own, because we bought a business and then I've invested in like 11 transactions personally of other people buying businesses. And the success rate there is so much dramatically higher than my own success rate starting. It's just hilarious. And so that was we love being business owners, and it doesn't have to have been something that we started from the ground up.
No, I mean, statistically, right, it's in your favor. I mean, you get past just getting the business going and validating the thesis, and it's really more about refining, right? Like going from 0 to 1 is very different than going from 1 to 2. Different skill sets, different level of risk, and obviously different level of reward too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I guess, so how are you finding those businesses?
Yes. So we were finding them, interestingly, through brokers. At the beginning, I'd never seen transactions before. So it's like, let's just look at some broker deals and get some reps in. And that ended up actually working out well. All 4 of them were through various brokers. And interestingly, hilariously, the business we actually ended up buying was listed on Flippa, which is like a marketplace for sort of like crappy e-commerce websites. But there were also occasionally like very legitimate businesses.
I look at Flippa once a month.
We know the CEO. We had him actually at our Houston conference last year, so I had a good time with him. He's a really good guy.
It's a good platform. It's like it's more legit than people appreciate.
I actually interviewed him on the podcast too, so yeah, you should definitely listen to that one to hear more. I remember Flippa first came out 15 years ago. I used to be an internet junkie all over the place, and so it's a good platform, and it's very much perfect for those digital marketing online type of businesses.
Yeah, and we've been looking, because one of the things that we talked about at the conference was, having some of these digital attributes, Facebook, social media, things that are out there that you can buy that could aggregate for your actual business. And so just looking and saying, hey, does that make sense? Because, there's all kinds of crazy stuff out there, but you start looking and dialing it in, and it's kind of neat to see the different opportunities. So is that where you found this, or did you find it through a broker?
So we found it through, it was listed on Flippa. It had a broker. And so we'll call that brokered for the purposes of this, but
through Flippa. Yeah. And then I guess, what was the asking price, and then how did due diligence go, and where'd you ultimately land?
So the asking price was 2 times earnings on $1 million of earnings. And we ended up landing there. We thought that was reasonable. The business 2 times is on the lower end for a business of that size. The business had no meaningful sales and marketing engine at the time of acquisition. It was just based on referrals and sort of the owner's network. And so we felt like that multiple was actually reasonable. The seller, we really ended up bonding with the seller. He ended up turning down higher offers because he thought we'd be a better steward of the team going forward. And
what was the seller selling?
Very good. Yeah, nicest guy.
Why was he selling?
Oh, he was selling out of a desire to retire, which is, the most classic. The funny thing, though, is that he's not a super old guy. Like he's, not very old at all. But interestingly, because I chatted with the team during diligence, I went and met lots of them in person. But I was like, is it a surprise that the seller is retiring? And they're like, nope. He told us for years that like at this specific age, that was when he wanted to retire. And here we are. We're at that age, and we're wrapping this party up. He just had a 3rd young child and wanted to spend more time with him. And anyway, it was, worked out.
Very nice. So 4 LOIs, right? So did you put in 4 offers?
Yeah. I mean,
all of them
each
digital
LOI
marketing. All digital marketing.
We got more defined over time. So the first one was like it was like online course type stuff. It's sort of like it was basically like a Facebook ad engine connected to like a funnel that's offering some sort of digital thing. That one was not accepted. And that was for the best. Like that, anyway, that would have been a disaster. One was a online school and a community for people that had a particular hobby. That one ended up falling apart because the books were completely wrong. They had been taking on debt from like Stripe Capital and QuickBooks Capital, like those sort of lenders, and their bookkeeper had actually been marking that as revenue and not as debt. So they thought they were making all this money, and they're actually like losing a lot of money and paying taxes on like fake profitability. It was a disaster. So that didn't happen. And then the third one is a funny story. It is a business that helped people contest unfair negative Google reviews. And something really good happened to the business during due diligence. And they eventually said, like, sorry, guys, we can't sell this to you. It's a gold mine. Like, I'm sorry. Interestingly, we've stayed friends with those folks. Things, that universe is volatile and it evolved. And anyway, Julia ended up actually acquiring them a couple months ago. So like stayed in touch and a deal actually ended up happening just much later on. So, and then the fourth one was the business we actually bought.
And so when you're doing the due diligence, I've never done DD on really a web digital type business. So is the first thing you do, are you doing like a digital asset review, or are you going straight to like a Q of E? Is it a pure financial play? So how do you go through and due diligence something like that to where you felt comfortable? Because your background is this, so you know the industry.
Yeah. Marketing agencies are weird because it's really just a team and clients. There's no assets of any kind, like in the physical world. And so the things that matter most are, what does client retention look like? Which for them was quite good. What does your sales and marketing engine look like? For them was essentially non-existent. And what does your team caliber and retention and talent look like? I was actually able to meet everyone on the team prior to close, which was super nice to the seller. And that gave us a lot of confidence.
Or all over the country?
All over the world, interestingly.
Wow.
So a good number of those were roughly 20, something like that.
Got it.
22.
And you said it was $1 million of profit, and so the revenue is even more than that. And how many different clients was there? And on that same vein, how did you DD the client list, right, and retention, and were there long term? Because you're really buying a book of business, and I guess you're getting the operational piece of it too. That but you're betting on the book of business more than anything else.
100%.
Because you already knew how to do the marketing to begin with. You really needed the book of business to be sticky.
Yeah. And they were legitimately very good at SEO. Like that's the final component, is like, you actually have to be good. It's very easy to have a marketing agency that doesn't actually do anything. Sure. And the clients just churn. But they were actually doing good and like getting great results. So the way we got comfortable with client retention is that essentially all of the clients signed new go forward contracts with us as the new entity prior to close that just became effective on the close date. So we knew 100% of the clients were aware of the transition, were comfortable with it, had been talked about.
That was one of your requirements, right?
Yeah. The seller was kind enough to like be very comfortable with that, but yes,
and
absolutely.
Those 1-year contracts, was there an out for those people? I mean, how did you?
They had outs.
Protect yourself?
They all have like 30 or 60 day outs, and so at the end of the day, in all forms of marketing agencies, you live by the sword and you die by the sword. If you're doing a good job, people are probably going to retain you, and if you're not, there's nothing you could possibly do to keep them. But we just wanted to. We knew that the results were good, and we just didn't want the shock of a change of ownership and, and the seller backing away to create issues. And we wanted everyone to know, like, to feel like they knew about it before it actually happens, that it was less of a.
Yeah, you can already gauge if you're going to have some attrition or not, right? The plan will
totally.
Work.
So it's a digital marketing company and you said specifically for which industry?
Specifically, personal injury attorneys. So very local oriented and very competitive. It's probably one of the most competitive landscapes in all of search.
And they didn't have a marketing engine for themselves, but they were providing marketing engines for the personal attorneys.
And it sounds like both SEO and ads, right? It's not just one of the other.
SEO and also what's called LSAs, local services ads, not traditional like Google PPC, but highly, very SEO focused.
How many different customers was it?
It was a couple dozen. They've grown since then. I'm trying to remember. It was probably on the order of like 25 or 30.
It's a manageable amount to go to have a conversation with every single one of them and just tell, hey, here's who we are, here's what's going on.
And they're attorneys, so they understand. Like, that's another thing. These are not,
yeah, that's actually,
they understand contracts. So they're like, of course, are you going to keep everything the same? Yes. Is it the same people? Yes. I mean, I imagine.
Out? Yes.
Yeah, yes.
Totally. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. It's a sophisticated client base, which is cool.
Yeah.
So you due diligence, you looked at those basic key factors. Now, I'm sure you and your wife were sitting at home going, hey, here's how we grow this business, right? So before you closed, I imagine you had already seen a lot of enhancement stuff that you can do, right? So what were those and how quickly did you implement them? Because sometimes when you take over a business, you don't want to change much, right? You want to give it some time. So when did all that start to happen?
The two biggest things we focused on were sales and marketing, standing up an engine to do that, and then implementing what's called EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, which is sort of like a framework for, you guys I'm sure have heard of it, for running businesses. Both of those started pretty soon after close. And yeah, because like a week after close, we got the leadership team all together in person. I came for that one. Julia obviously was there, and introduced them to this concept of EOS, which was massively helpful in the marketing agency I'd started back in the day. And so we sort of shared how impactful that was and started rolling that out. And then Julia started doing sales and marketing very soon. It's highly conference driven in this particular landscape. Lots of professional development and like continuing education is required for attorneys. And so they have all these conferences and you just have lots of opportunities as a vendor to bond with people at conferences. So Julia
then doing any of that?
Nothing. No, nothing at all. No marketing of any form had been attempted.
And really quick, how did you guys take down the deal? Like, so was it you guys brought the cash? Did you guys finance part of it? Was there seller carry? I mean, how did y'all structure that? And how do you protect yourself, right? Was there an earnout component?
Yeah, cash and seller note were the two components. We did not, it's a long story. We basically did not want to do an SBA loan, and it wouldn't have been eligible because the owner was not in the United States. And so like all the clients were, but the owner was not. So it wasn't SBA eligible. And so we had to be creative, but we were fortunate to be able to make a meaningful sort of equity down payment on the business. And then the rest was just seller financing, which was good for alignment as well. Like we always
very good for alignment.
I mean, especially in digital marketing, the biggest fear is that book leaves. And so,
totally,
especially in that kind of scenario, there's not a lot of recourse if you stop paying that note on that seller that's in another country. So his incentive is that the business stays healthy. So that actually worked in your favor to not have him here in the U.S.
So Grant, one of the things, so as I go out and I look for businesses and I meet with owners, I like to get belly to belly. I like to meet them in person. So this guy is out of the country.
Yes.
So did you do most of your meetings like this on digital?
Yeah. So we met digitally through Flippa, had I think 2 Zoom conversations, and then I think it was just after. I don't know. I booked time to travel to him in person, like immediately.
What country are we talking about? Is Europe, or are we talking like
Europe? Yeah, Europe. Yeah, Romania specifically, which is a wonderful country.
All of the freaking digital marketing people are Romania or Belarus, one of the border countries. It's ridiculous.
Totally. There's a good talent pool. Yeah. So we talked once and then twice, and then I think I was in Romania and spent a week with him and met the team the week after that.
Nice.
Very nice. All right. So now, so due diligence, we get it closed. This was a year ago, right? So you start implementing EOS in that first probably 90 days, and then you start hitting the sales and marketing stuff. Do you start to see like immediate impact from the sales and marketing? Is it something that's more of a long tail, or
definitely takes time? Yeah. And giving credit where it's due. All of this is not me. It's my wife. And I'm sort of being helpful a little bit in the sidelines, but it's, 95% her. The sales and marketing took meaningful time to figure out, how does this customer buy? What does this customer want to understand before they buy? Julia did not have an SEO background. She'd been a consultant at Boston Consulting Group, which is very, high intensity. The client pays you $1 million a week for a small team. So like she's used to delivering at a high level, but didn't have deep SEO knowledge. And so those things built up. She basically built up relationships, built up SEO knowledge, built up reps, And it was a meaningful number of months before like the first new client was signed from sort of proactive sales and marketing efforts. And then, momentum starts to build after that.
Okay. So then I guess speaking of momentum, so you're into it a little over a year, how has attrition look like on the existing customer base, and how many new customers have you brought on? Right. What's been the growth been like?
Yeah, it's been good. So the, our basically target was to keep the business like at least flat, because we knew there's going to be some attrition. It's just going to happen. And
if you keep it for 2 years, you're in the money on your investment. Right?
Totally. Totally. Yeah. So it's like, okay. And so that ended up happening. So because year one ended at the end of June, this past June. So we're like 16 months in or something, whatever that is. And so year one was slightly better actually than projected. So that was wonderful. I should know these numbers like offhand. A meaningful number of new clients have been signed. Not like dramatic, but I don't know, probably like 8 or 10, something like that. They tend to be more meaningful client relationships.
So you have a little bit of attrition, but you've added clients, and so you're continuing staying on that uptick.
But 8 and 10 on 25 is still pretty good growth, right? Assuming the attrition wasn't too bad.
Totally. Yeah.
So even if it's 3 drop at 5K, 8 came on, that's a net of 5. 5 on 25 is, that's a pretty sizable.
That's a good growth.
% growth right there.
Totally. Yeah. Which has been good. And anyway, and some of the older clients were at very advantageous pricing to the client. And so it's been good to have sort of more market rate pricing coming.
Yeah.
So I imagine there's upsales in your business too, right? I would imagine that you could say, hey, this is what you were getting at this service. And guess what? We're adding all these other services. We're keeping you here and we're going to add these. Is that part of the plan? Is that what y'all are doing?
Certainly. So yeah, SEO is interesting because it's like building an asset. You're building the credibility and authority of your website. And so, it depends, different cities, because it's very geography oriented. If you are a personal injury attorney trying to be competitive in Boston, all the people on the first page of Google are probably spending like $20,000 to $100,000 a month, $20,000 to $50,000 a month on that. Whereas if you're trying to rank for, like a smaller local town or whatever, maybe it's $3,000 a month. And so that is always a conversation with clients of what geographies do you want to be competitive in, and where does it make sense to potentially invest, and where are like underappreciated geographies where it's actually going to be pretty cost effective. And the interesting thing too on the upsell front is that the review contesting company that we were in diligence with over a year ago now actually ended up getting acquired also. So they did a little bolt-on acquisition and have now added that. It's called Repspert. And that has been great because a lot of those clients are also personal injury attorneys, just sort of randomly, or attorneys of various types. And so that's been a great entry point to say like, okay, we've helped you with your, unfair review contesting. Would you like us to help you more holistically with your SEO and digital presence more broadly?
Cool. So you've built a partnership there with that group.
Yeah. Through acquiring them, which has been great. So
y'all did buy them.
Yeah,
it
came back around. Right. Yeah.
You said I wasn't clear. I was like, maybe you did buy them.
Yeah. So you've made your bolt-on acquisition was the review company that came back around.
Exactly. Yeah.
Phenomenal. Yeah. Okay, so that's a whole nother business that you've gotten into.
Absolutely, which has been great. It's such a perfect match.
Yeah. And for the listeners, right, what kind of contract dollars are we talking about? Like, what is an actual fee? Because I know a lot about digital marketing, but I think most listeners, maybe even in case you don't know a lot, right? So explain maybe what is the actual business model? You've explained the service, but maybe you could explain the business model itself.
Yeah. It's almost always a monthly retainer. And sometimes it involves a redo of the website. Like if a new client signs on and they have a website that was built in 2015, probably a new website, refreshed website is needed. And that is typically it depends. It can be like, $10,000 to $100,000, depending on how intense you're looking. And then there's a monthly recurring component, which is for ongoing SEO activities, which is content, link building, local, which would be like Google business profile optimization and review management and all those components. And then just like broader SEO strategy and technical implementation of like schema markup and optimization for AI and all the million things. And that is a retainer that's, $4,000 a month to $50,000 a month if you're trying to be number one for car accident attorney in, Boston or something like that.
Got it. And then spends on top of that, obviously, right? So that's y'all's
Well,
fee.
so it's
where you're
just
getting
SEO. This is SEO. So there's no media spend. There's no someone else would do, if someone was doing paid ads like PPC, that would be another partner because Julia's company just does the SEO side.
Oh, you guys don't do any of the ad spend. Okay, I thought you guys had both. I got it.
I mean, LSA is
easy
a little bit
expansion and upsell right there.
Yeah.
He's waiting for that's his new bolt. That's his next bolt-on, right?
Yeah. We'll see. Yeah, it's a tough game. Yeah.
Well, then for the SEO side, right? How do you protect against the default of people asking, like, how do I verify you're doing anything for me, right? Because SEO takes time. And so how do you quantify it? Especially, you called it a retainer. I call it a monthly fee. Or are you somehow quantifying that, hey, we dip into the retainer and here's how we dip into it, right? For every article, every this or that, here's how we deduct from that.
Yeah. Monthly fee is a much easier way to talk about it.
Because it's monthly. So then how do you quantify that you guys gave value for that for people?
Yeah. So the whole point, the SEO is weird because, to your point, you have to explain and build trust with the client in the strategy, and that it actually makes sense, and that you're actually doing those things, and that if you do both of those things together, like, results should follow, and you should see an increase in rankings, and therefore an increase in signed cases is the North Star for all of Julie's clients. Like, we want to sign cases. And so it's basically just massive transparency. You have to be extremely transparent in the sales process of, this is the roadmap that we'd recommend. These are the specific activities. We're going to have calls every month, and we're going to go over everything so you can see, like, this is what we were supposed to do, and here it is, and now it's done. Like, you'll notice that this page used to be different, and now here it is. You'll notice that these pages from another person's site are now linking to yours, and that didn't used to happen. And there's typically, it depends on how competitive a market is, but typically in sort of first 3 to 6 months, you're building momentum. And then you should start seeing, like, Julia was chatting with a client yesterday who I think signed on 6 months ago, and they used to get like one signed case every other month kind of a deal from organic search. So call it like 6 a year. And then they've probably gotten like 5 or 6 in the past 3 months, which is, and these are pretty meaningful. It's like, there's like real dollars associated with that.
Yeah, they make pretty good money on a good injury case, right?
For sure. Yeah. So it's like, that's, and they're just thrilled beyond belief, because that is massive ROI at the 6 month mark, and everyone's super happy. And that's the goal, is that you got to build the trust, deliver the work, and then demonstrate that the results are actually happening.
Now, on the Google review side, so how does that business work? What does that look like? So that opens you up to all different types of people, right?
It does. Yeah. And it's the simplest business model in the world, because customers say, hi, this review, it's every business owner you talk to has crazy stories about, like, a competitor left a review pretending to be a customer, or like, this person, or injury attorneys get it a lot. People will review and say, this person wouldn't accept my case, and like, I'm so mad, that's so unprofessional. Which, one, that's an injury attorney being responsible. If they're like, you don't have a case here, I'm not going to waste your time with it. And two, it's against Google's rules. You cannot leave a review as a non-customer. So like, that's invalid. And so people will come to Repspert and say, this review, not legitimate. Can you please contest it? They say, absolutely. It's like $685 only if we get it down. And if we don't get it down, our work is free. So sorry, didn't work out. And so it's very straightforward.
Got it. And so on that business, you know how to basically get to communicate with Google to basically get that removed.
Totally. Yeah.
Almost like a credit repair, but it's a credit repair for Google reviews.
Exactly. 100%. Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome.
I like it.
What's next?
Yeah. What's next?
Yeah, we'll see. Julia's, so for anyone who may be listening, who owns a legal-focused SEO agency, Julia is in the market for bolt-on acquisitions. So thrilled to have conversations like that, if helpful. I love this stuff. And so I'm now, like, the way I'm spending a lot of my time is investing in other transactions like this. We've raised a little fund called Entrepreneurial Capital, and excited to be supporting other people like Julia pursuing this ETA path.
All right. So it sounds like you're focused on just being essentially a fund that's investing in other people. So in addition to people with, personal injury related businesses, anyone that's got, an ETA that's looking for funding can maybe reach out to you and see if there's a fit.
100%. Yeah. We've raised like $11.5 million to focus on specifically entrepreneurship through acquisition transactions. So happy to be helpful to anyone we can be.
That's outstanding, man. Well, look, Grant, fantastic. We're going to go into the other part of the business, learn a little bit more about you. So this is where we ask our guests on a rocket round 3 big questions. All right. So what do you like to do in your free time?
We love traveling and have been able to go to lots of fun places. I went to Thailand last year and Japan. And anyway, just lots of stuff like that. Cannot get enough of interesting travel.
All right. Next question. Most memorable moment of your business journey?
Yeah, most memorable moment is in Nonprofit Megaphone, the digital marketing agency. We had our core business is helping people with the Google Ad Grant, helping nonprofits with the Google Ad Grant. We had a period for a couple of years where we helped nonprofits raise money on Facebook through what's called Facebook Challenges. And that was awesome. And we helped organizations raise like $66 million over a couple of years. Nice. And then the Facebook platform kind of changed. And we basically couldn't do it effectively anymore. And we had to lay people off for the first and last time since. And it was just awful. And so that is my most memorable moment in business is going through the pain and suffering of that. And then emerging on the other side and realizing because it's sort of my worst fear in life of letting people down in that way. And it was interesting coming out of it on the other side and realizing I'm still alive. They're still alive. It's okay. But learned a lot from that process.
And it's the nature of business. It is, right? We've got to take care of the business as much as we want to take care of people first. The business has to survive. Otherwise, you can't help anybody.
Totally.
Yeah, very nice. All right. And your last question, what was your favorite tool or resource?
I love EOS. The Traction book, I think is great. There's Get a Grip, which is a story version of all the content in Traction. And anyway, it's just been life-changing for me and for Julia's business, and cannot say enough good things about the whole EOS.
Yeah, no, it's valuable. I mean, we use the pinnacle flavor of EOS because there was a whole EOS itself, the business got acquired, and then there's this whole fallout, and I guess there's a sister version of Pinnacle. So that's kind of what we have rolled out, and we had our coach here 2 weeks ago. So we do quarterlies and have an annual coming up in November. So
love it. That's
very nice. All right, Grant, how can our guests get a hold of you?
I am on LinkedIn, just Grant Hensel, and Twitter/X, also just Grant Hensel, and happy to chat or connect with anyone. Happy to be helpful.
Yeah, it looks like you're looking for some good deals. So people definitely want to reach out to you. Great. We'll also put that in our show notes so people can get a hold of you.
Sounds great.
Awesome.
Grant, thank you so much for spending this afternoon to you. Thank you. Congratulations to y'all's success. It's really exciting.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, great to chat.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the M&A Launchpad Podcast. If you've enjoyed today's podcast and would like to support us, please leave us a rating and a review after you listen. If you're looking for guidance on your next business acquisition or sale, capital to support your next business transaction, or to invest in a private equity opportunity, visit equitylaunchpad.com to learn more and to connect with our team. If you know of an individual who would be a great guest for the show, head over to equitylaunchpad.com/nominate, where you'll have the chance to refer yourself or someone else to be a guest on our show. I'm Casey Minshew, and I look forward to talking with you next week.